Jason Archer here. We're in the live question and answer session now, and we've got Bill Cornell in Australia on the line as well. So, Bill, how are things over there?
Yeah, things are going fairly well, thank you, Jason. We just need more rain, but that's a usual Aussie sort of saying.
Yeah. So Bill, we've just listened to you and Matt both talking about composite programs, and you know, a lot of your program is based out of the US, or for grain finish type of cattle. So over here, when we're finishing on grass, I guess our question is: are those genetics that are useful for grain finishing systems? Are they the same genetics that are going to perform well on grass? What do you think?
Okay, Jason, thanks for that. In the video, we would have heard Matt's commentary on that, so people already heard what his answer was. In terms of here in looking at New Zealand, having been there a little bit, you know, your grass is really good. If you take out the US, I suppose, they're actual fact selecting for negative fat in one way, and then their ribeye and their marbling and so forth to hit their grades and using their grain to do that. Over here in Australia, I suppose we don't like, you know, we talk about having more fat for the grass and sustainability, but then in the feedlot, they'd prefer to put the fat finishing on in terms of them being able to manage it, be able to get the growth program. Are these genetics the same? I think there's bulls out there that, you know, don't do a good job on grass, but do a good job in grain, and vice versa. But we do have bulls, we believe that there's certainly bulls out there that are going to cover both aspects of the market, where they do have enough finishing and fatability, either in a feedlot situation or out there in a grass-fed situation. So I think there are bulls that are going to do it.
Great, thanks, Bill. Just another question that's come in. Why did you decide to put some Simmental over your Angus? What was the decision making, or what led you to do that? And was it just Simmental?
Sorry, just what was the last thing? And not just Simmental?
What have you just used Simmental, or are there other breeds in the mix as well? But primarily, what was the decision making to go with your Simmental over Angus?
I think the thing that, yeah, that was a good question. I mean, there was a couple of reasons. First thing there is I was breeding a lot of Angus bulls, and a lot of the client base and ABS clients weren't so happy that I was selling bulls against them in the open market. So some of them, I just said to them, would you be happy if I sold black Simmentals? And they said, yeah, they thought I was nuts to do that. But anyway, I enjoyed the challenge. What it did do to me was, one is, look, the Simmental database is really a commercial or like an all breeds database, and it's the second largest database in the world. So consequently, it equated a fair bit to like the Angus. Now, so therefore, the way I've managed and handle the cattle in terms of EPD, EBVs, I could do the same. The other thing that was a lovely challenge was I was really seeing the benefits of heterosis, and after going to places like Patsy Horden, where she was saying she was getting 8% better a preg rate with a crossbred cattle, and we were seeing the maternal heterosis coming through, I just thought it was a natural fit. The complementarity of the cattle was ideal. So we just went with that idea. Do they for the same amount of money as the Angus? No, but I'm really enjoying it, and it's really teaching me a lot more about hybrid vigor and focusing on other breeds.
Right. I've got another question just in. Does using genomics create issues with customer perception?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting thing. I think the way we handle genomics is, and we're doing that now, obviously, is incorporating into the EBVs and enhancing that. The genomics in the end is probably supposed to give us a truer picture in the end, but we'd like to see it coupled in with the EBV. Just having a look at the raw genomics as it's coming through, yeah, there's some differentiation in what we see and what we expect at the present moment. But it'll only get better as more and more use and the database gets bigger, Jason.
Right, okay. Another question just in from Robert Peacock. Good evening, Robert. If the commercial farmer buys an F1 bull or a stabilised cross, the new breed has to be better than either purebred. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I suppose in terms of it depends what he's putting them over, for example, and what he's going to be and what market he's targeting. But in general, you know, as we're saying, if you're utilising heterosis and then either in a terminal situation or for heterosis in a maternal situation, yeah, I think the bull's going to have a bit more to offer, and he'll probably be cheaper.
Okay, and I've got another question here from Will Morrison up in the North Island there. Evening, Will. Crossbred and/or composite bull breeding is good in theory, but how do we do it in New Zealand?
Right, I think, and too, I said, as you know, you and I talked for about an hour or so, and we answered a lot of these things, and I'm not quite sure what's been cut into the final draft. But what was the question again? Sorry.
How do we actually do crossbreeding or composite bulls in New Zealand? How would we go about it?
Okay, well, it really depends on the size of the herd and what you want to do. I mean, you could just use, we did discuss using a composite program, you know, crisscrossing back and forth between breeds, or if you're in a straight terminal operation, it's easy, isn't it? You just use the bull straight over the cows and then terminal everything. If you're in a commercial situation, using composite bulls is getting complementarity to your cows. So that's why I use the Sim Angus example of using them over, let's say, Angus, was the progeny is still going to be black and polled and you know, so therefore if you're sending it off into the market, you've still got that complementarity of breed type.
Sure. So I think we're just about out of time for questions, Bill. So thank you very much.